Looking at the StarCraft 2 tournament statistics, it turns out that this man's Terran versus Zerg is the absolute highest rated matchup in the entire game. Spawning right here in game number 1 of this Best-of-5 series, playing with the Red Terran SCVs from South Korea. Of course, that means we're looking at Maru's main command center. Now, in my most recent video, we had a quick look on Aligalek. Aligalek, again, it's a statistics website for StarCraft 2 that basically keeps track of all of the online and also all of the offline tournaments that are being played, and then it assigns different ratings to each and every one of the pro gamers. And it turns out, Maru's versus Zerg is at 3,648. I guess the second closest would be Seral's versus Terran, but there's no denying that Maru is head and shoulders above the rest right now. And it's been a little while since I've last casted him facing off against a Zerg. Now, today's series is the semi-finals of the StarCraft 2 World Championships. So this is by no means a weak Zerg player whatsoever. Playing here with the blue Zerg drones, likewise also from Korea, we're looking at Ragnarok's main hatchery. And apparently, Ragnarok is starting off this particular game with a spawning pool first. That is a little bit of a cheeky opener. Now, of course, Maru, a lot of his Terran versus Zerg wins, especially over the last year, they're those really long games, right? He loves making command centers, and he will, generally speaking, make a dozen of them if he can and if he has to. But he's certainly known as a very aggressive Terran player as well, and that's what's kind of funny. I remember Maru winning a whole lot of tournaments with a whole lot of proxy barracks, and there's no denying that the guy is really good when it comes to that early game cheese. But I think his comfort zone, if I were to make a guess, his comfort zone is probably that strong macro style where, yeah, he's just playing such a robust way. Like basically everybody over the last year or so, they've been playing that defensive style as well, where they make tons of command centers and they sit back and they try to max out with ghosts and siege tanks and all that, right? Maru is the one who started that. Maru is really the only one that can successfully pull that off against all the other players. But he's got a very wide range when it comes to his Terran versus Zerg. He can do timing attacks, he can do Terran mech, he can play Terran bio, he can play battle mech, he can do a little bit of everything. And I mean, I guess that's not all too surprising, right? Considering how high his rating actually is. Anyways, in this particular game, it turns out you didn't really need that early game spawning pool. Ragnarok, though, has already followed this up with a second hatchery as well as a third. So, did he actually... Okay, he did make 4 Zerglings. Ah, okay, they're sneaking around. I was gonna say, thought for a second he decided to skip those altogether. That would be a little bit funky. They are gonna finish up link speed here very shortly, so we'll have to see what he decides to do with them. He could obviously use them to simply hunt down that very first Reaper. Yeah, I think that's probably the plan, otherwise they would be positioning themselves elsewhere. Now, he's obviously got vision right here with that Overlord of exactly where that Reaper is located. So he's being as safe as he possibly can, but I guess the plan right here for Ragnarok is to try and deny any further scouting. And Maru has also picked up on that fact. He's now essentially sacrificing this. Alright, trying to see if he can potentially get a drone. He's essentially sacrificing, the Reaper. Trying to get a scout off of the opponent's main base, just to be sure that there's no super quick Roach Warren or anything along those lines happening. And I indeed also wonder if that's something that Ragnarok has in mind. Can't believe actually that this Reaper's gone home. That's insane. Yeah, the Zerglings have been looking around. Now the Overlord obviously spots it, but Maru does get the Reaper back home to safety. Looks like it's a quick triple CC opener right here from Maru, as he's also... Ooh, alright, I thought we were gonna go for the switcheroo over here, but he also mixes in a couple of Hellions. That is kind of funny, so he's already got 2 of them. He's gonna go for 4 in total. I can imagine that, yeah, after these 3rd and 4th Hellions, I can imagine we're gonna be switching over the reactor onto the barracks. So this is a 2-1-1 opener, a double barracks start with triple CC, but also some Hellions. So this is a little bit difficult for the Zerg player to read. Is it going to be a Marine drop? It probably will be, but how many Zerglings do you really need to produce? Is there even a chance that there's going to be, I don't know, an armory on the back of this? Do you have to concern yourself with, say, for example, a bunch of Hellbats? Do you have to go for a Baneling Nest a little bit sooner? Maybe a Roach Warren? It's always difficult to adjust, and, well, Ragnarok is going to have to play his A-game if he wants to stay ahead right here of the Terran player. So far, though, he's doing an excellent job. What are the numbers to look for at the bottom of the screen is the worker count. So, income-wise, I mean, Terrans obviously have the mules. So that's why, yeah, Maru is getting a little bit of help here from those temporary workers. The yellow mining machines over here. But generally speaking, Zerg, because of that larva mechanic, they can pump out a ton of workers all at once. And that's exactly what Ragnarok is trying to do right now. It's also exactly what Maru is trying to prevent. Now, I actually do like that. There's two options, right? Whenever your mineral line is in trouble, either you make units that are really good defensively, so you prevent you prevent your mineral line from going down, or you do what Ragnarok does in this particular game, and you just accept the fact that you just lost a drone here and there, and you just, yeah, make a round of additional workers instead. Yeah, both options, there's something to be said for. Generally speaking, option B, the second one, a little bit riskier, of course, but if you know, it's probably only gonna be 4 Hellions here. You don't really need a massive army. Alright, so it's not a 16 Marine drop, it's a little bit of a different one over here. We've got 16 Marines here in total, but not all of them are inside of the medevacs. Apparently Jimmy and his crew are charged with defending the natural expansion. Looks like the medevacs are gonna head on over into the main base. Love the fact, by the way, that there's a creep tumor spread over here. Whereas at the same time, okay, the Hellions are in a little bit of trouble here in the middle of the map. Nice catch right here from Ragnarok, but he kind of needs those units in the main base. Yeah, and this is now actually, well, even though he's getting some good damage done on those Hellions, and maybe all of them go down, he's losing a ton of workers in the main base. And honestly, this is the type of advantage that Maru is looking for. Right now, Maru is significantly ahead. Keep in mind, this wasn't just your standard 16 Marine opener. As a matter of fact, this push hit like, I don't know, 40 seconds later than it normally would. But that's because he invested in those Hellions and also a third command center. So already, we've got ourselves a, well, as soon as those mules start returning their cargo, we've got ourselves a very nice economical advantage here for Maru, because Ragnarok did not put his opponent on a Marine drop after seeing those Hellions earlier on. Oh. Target firing down the active creep tumor as well, just to be as obnoxious as he possibly can be. The follow-up right here from the Zerg is, well, first off, more drones, because he needs to remake those. He's laying down some creep tumors again as well, and he's going 1-1 together with the Baneling Speed. Baneling Speed, usually the most critical upgrade you can go for in the mid-game as Zerg, just because you need to make sure... Ooh, he gets that creep tumor too. Just because you need to make sure you can actually connect with that Terran army. Stimpack is activated. There's the Hellbats now turning into, or the Hellions rather, turning into Hellbats as well. Most you made, I guess, for the 2-2 upgrades, but if you still got a couple of Hellions around, you may as well use them, and I guess that also means that the Hellions were not all picked off. Fourth hatchery, yeah, not enough Zerg army available to hold onto it, so a couple of drones go down. There is a Zergling run-by over here. Fourth command center in a little bit of trouble. A couple SCVs are starting to, yeah, get picked off, but that medevac healing them up as well. It's only really a handful of SCVs. Now suddenly though, Ragnarok has to defend against this. He cannot afford to lose this hatch. The rocks get knocked down. Maru. Okay. Yeah, Maru is just on another level. Now suddenly Zerg has to go through this choke. This is a fight, however, on creep. You gotta be so careful. You gotta make sure you don't lose too much. Didn't apparently really need to split there either. Just stands his ground, stutter stepping backwards. He's gonna be forced to back off, but look at that mini-map. There's already so much additional movement here for the Terran player, reinforcing this army as he's pushing on the other side of the map. Couple of Banelings here, picked off for free. I would say that's okay against practically every Terran player out there. Don't think it's okay against Maru. Now, there is one saving grace, I guess, here for the Zerg, and that is this small little hit squad of Lynx being obnoxious, but I believe that the Terran reinforcements will be okay. The third hatchery. Yeah, it goes down, and GG is cold. Next up, we find ourselves on Ancient Cistern. Standard openers here from both players this time around. Maru going for the barracks into a command center, and now following it up as well with a factory at home. He'll probably go for a reactor after that very first Marine, and then he'll be able to do the big switcheroo. No, not quite. He's gonna go for double Marine. Okay. Maybe that's a reaction to seeing what the Zerg did in game number 1. So now he knows that, yeah, he doesn't really need that Marine, and he actually cancels it. Okay. Yeah, so he cancels the Marine and goes into a reactor. I think that was probably him respecting his opponent there after game number 1. Maybe there once again could be a bunch of Zerglings sneaking towards the other side of the map. He decided to skip the SCV scout, so he didn't really know exactly what he was playing against. Anyhow, not a big deal. He's going to be able to do the big switcheroo and start pumping out those Hellions 2 at a time very, very soon. Ragnarok, by the way, opening up with a quick triple hatch. It is important for him to get that hatchery going, because that's one of those small things that can definitely delay you significantly if you don't handle it properly. So usually you prefer having that third hatchery going up before the Reaper even gets to your side of the map. Obviously a little bit risky if it would be some, I don't know, some proxy barracks or something along those lines, but 9 times out of 10, you'll probably be okay. Then again though, ooh. You're facing off against Maru. Oh, in a best-of-5, so he could be proxying barracks. Maru decides to go double starport here. Okay. Double starport. There's a couple of options. So he's already, yeah, cornered the Overlord right there on the left side. I would say there's a couple of options. We have seen double battlecruiser play. More often than not, though, I mean, we've seen this a little bit as well in other matchups where I guess you go for mass Viking, but I think in this particular case, it essentially has to be mass Banshee. Banshee play is something that Maru used to do before it was cool. Right now, it's kind of cool. He used to do this a couple of years ago. So they've changed the way that the Banshee works. Okay, yeah, we're going double tech lab. It makes a lot of sense. So, yep, there it is. Hyperflight rotors. This is an upgrade that recently got a little bit of a buff. It's now cheaper to produce. So the big difference here, oh, this is really unfortunate for Ragnarok. The big difference is that you can start pumping out those Banshees and they'll get their nice little speed buff. It seems to me, if he uses this as an aggressive option, Ragnarok that is, he's gonna be in a lot of trouble. If he just goes for like 3 to 4 safety roaches or so, I don't hate it. But if he decides to go for a move out, I'll have to see how many units he's gonna save up. Yeah, he's making a lot of overlords here. I'm afraid he's gonna go for an attack. He's also saturated gases here. Yeah, he's definitely gonna go for an attack. I think he's accidentally gonna hit a wall. So that Overlord in the back of the Terran's main base gets sniped. There's no vision of the double starport play at all. I don't think Maru has spotted the Roachborn yet, but if he does, he's gonna want to keep those Hellions, or sorry, those Banshees back. Because you want to have those Roaches move away from their base as far as possible. Now that is kind of funny. Anyways, I haven't seen Maru play this particular style all too much recently. But, ooh, okay. We're going full battle mech, I guess. He's going for additional factories right now after the Banshee play. Very fun. Okay, so he must have spotted the Roaches at this point. And this is getting really unfortunate here for Ragnarok. Ragnarok morphing in a couple of Ravagers, and technically speaking, their corrosive biles can hit the Banshees, but Maru's just patiently waiting, man. Hyperflight rotors as well as the Banshee cloaking field, it's all finishing up. And now suddenly he springs the trap. And this is the first time that, yeah, Ragnarok sees this. That's rough. Yeah. Sometimes in StarCraft 2 you play a game of rock, paper, scissors. And sometimes you throw scissors into rock, I guess. And rough start right here for Ragnarok. Okay. Loses a bunch of units for free, but his economy is not terrible. In the meantime, by the way, the Hellions are chasing around those Zerglings. Lair's about halfway done at this point. We are gonna go for Spore Crawlers, additional ones that is, so already double Spore over here. There are usually, yeah, little dead spots though, where those Banshees can deal damage. You actually have to be very careful. I've played against this myself a bunch, and it's really quite scary. Since you really do need a Spire before you can properly contest this, you'll usually just be at the mercy right here of these Banshees, right? Like, it's very easy to accidentally lose the game. This hatchery, if he targets it down, I guess the Overseer is coming up right now, so there should be some detection, but that hatchery could be in some trouble. Okay, he's going for the gas. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Suddenly the Banshees show up. A lot of them don't have energy anymore. Another queen goes down before he has to retreat. Maru just one step ahead, man. Look at how much he's lost. He's lost 5 Hellions, but he lost 5 Hellions while clearing out 46 of those Zerglings. Pretty wild. Third command center, by the way, made on the back of this too. Fourth command center coming up. Infernal Pre-Igniter. We've got the Cyclone upgrade as well. So this is Maru playing full-on battle mech. And is this something that our Zerg player is currently aware of? Ragnarok has been so pushed back. He's been so busy trying to just, well, not lose the game, that he might accidentally be building the wrong unit composition into someone who's playing Battle Mech. Like, he's going very Zergling heavy. He could be going into Mutas. Yeah, decent option. But Terran can always mix in a couple of Thors. He's already got Cyclones, and Cyclones obviously are anti-air. There's factory number 4 and 5 coming up as well. Okay, now a Zergling got spotted over here, so I guess he knows what he's playing against. Still decides to go for the Mutalisks. So Mutas are fast. They should be able to, at the very least, push back those Banshees, but the Banshees actually don't need a whole lot of an advantage either to get away. Oh, Blue Flame Hellions on the links. Ragnarok going for a 4th hatchery here on the right side of the map. Maru only really optimizing the armor upgrade here for those mech units so far. That's because that Cyclone lock-on ability, it's a spell, so it does not benefit from... there's the Mutas, by the way. It does not benefit from the attack damage improvements. So he decides to go armor upgrades to try and keep this all alive for a little bit longer. And when you see that command center flying away, right? Like, if you're Ragnarok in his shoes right now, you'd imagine that this is at best a 3-base Terran, and then you see the 4th command center flying on over there before your own 4th hatchery is really done. I mean, I guess he had one over here, but that one was way too exposed. Yeah, you know you're up with your back against the wall. Still? Yeah, those Mutas are getting some good work in right now. Mass Muta, actually a pretty popular unit composition against Terran Mech, even though Mech has a lot of counters against it. The Mutas are so fast that usually they can get out. Ooh, he scans, he sees them exactly. But usually they can get out before you, yeah, really have to engage as the Zerg, right? So you'll just fly around them. And in the meantime, when you buy all this time... Now, this is not good right here for Ragnarok at all. Okay, well, this is really great for Ragnarok, killing a lot of SCVs here. Okay, that's actually pretty dang good. But he loses a bunch of the Mutas. Ah, this could actually be a comeback over here, though. Yeah. Maru had all of his defenses in the top left. I guess he brought the Hellions with the Cyclones to try and catch the Mutas, just on the off chance that the Zerglings were also in that area. But he should have left a couple of his reinforcements at home. Now suddenly Ragnarok going for a big push. 4 Banshees remain. The Mutas should be able to make short work of that. They now target fire it down as well, but the Banshees are dealing a lot of damage. I like the way that Maru is fighting this so much more. The Vikings up in the air as well, by the way, mostly just to create a distraction. And it looks to me that the Terran player's army here is way too big. It's kind of funny to me how he doesn't panic and he doesn't start making siege tanks of Thors. He's like, no. I got this, don't worry about it. I'll just mix in a couple of Vikings instead. 32 SCVs have gone down, but we're still at 76. So, economy-wise, yeah. Maybe there was a small dip in over here, but now suddenly Maru, once again, very, very far ahead there. And as a Zerg, usually your best solution against these types of unit compositions is to just throw stuff at the problem. Mutaling Bane, Roach Ravager, none of it is particularly cost efficient. So usually you want to aim for like 90 plus workers to try and just throw wave after wave after wave of Zerg at this, and well, that is clearly what Maru is trying to prevent right now. I would love to see anything here to defend this a little bit better. Maybe a wall? Not a bad idea. Maybe rallying the reinforcements over here? Not a bad idea, since we have a planetary on the left side. Maybe re-rallying a couple of those factories towards the right side over here. Blue Flame Hellbats would be fantastic, just sitting in that mineral line. Either way, Terran once again on the move. Ragnarok now going for a couple infestors. I like that a lot. Fungal growth on on this Terran army obviously would be amazing. Then suddenly the Roaches and the Ravagers can get a lot more of a cost-efficient trade. Hive also coming up. We're going into the Hydralisks. Okay. Ragnarok making some changes. Did he add on another Banshee, by the way? Oh yeah, he did go back to Banshee production. Okay. The creep has been denied on this side of the map for quite a while, and that's what Maru is using right now as well. Needs to dodge against those Biles, but already he's getting very close to creating a chokehold on this base over here as well. Ragnarok really making the best of a very difficult scenario, but he's losing so much. Oh, the old main base, right, that was already hit. It never got back up to full HP, and apparently the Banshees just finished that one off as well. We don't see a lot of cloaked speed Banshee. We honestly don't see it all too much. But this looks incredibly potent. Look at this. He's just destroying everything. The thing is, though, historically speaking, Terran mech, you don't really need that much APM to play it. But look at Maru's average actions per minute in this game so far. It's at 450. Well, it's going up and down, but it's very high up. And apparently that's what you need to properly control this Terran army, as he gets another point on the board. Okay, next up. Dragon skills. I was gonna fast forward through the first couple minutes of this game, but Maru decides to go for the build that I always think of as the Beyond build, right? The one where you go for the double barracks here at the front. I can imagine that's probably what he's gonna do. That's, at the very least in my mind, the only reason why... I'm trying to come up with another reason as to why you would go for this. We've also seen factories as part of this wall-off, right? We've seen that a bunch. Kinda cool. Can definitely deal some damage. Anyways, it is gonna be barracks number 1 over here, and then I think this SCV over here is gonna be going for the second barracks, yeah. This is a build that I'm always a little bit conflicted by. I never really know... Ooh, we're leaving a gap. I never really know if I like this build. So what you do usually is you go for a bunch of Reapers, but a lot of Terran players with this opener will literally go for 3 Reapers and that's it. So you invest a lot into a whole lot of, well, infrastructure, right? You get all of these structures here, but you don't really make a whole lot of use out of it. I've got a feeling that this is one of those build orders that is technically inferior to the standard builds that we usually see coming out of Terrans. But what makes it scary is that Zerg players haven't really played against this all too much, and therefore they haven't really found the optimal response. I wonder if Maru would play something like this against someone like Zero. I feel like he wouldn't. Anyways. Ragnarok is going to scout this out momentarily. He once again went for a hatchery on the low ground, followed up with a gas geyser and a spawning pool. So the same build that he did in game number 2. Now he sees what he's playing against and he decides to get that overlord out of there. One advantage, of course, is that you can go for a marine and then you lift off the barracks and then, you know, you kill the overlord that would usually be hiding on top of this pillar. So Ragnarok, yeah, making sure that he is hiding, quote-unquote, safely there in the back of the Terran's bases. Okay, we'll see how many he decides to produce. So the first... Ooh, this is rough. This is really rough for Rag. Gets body blocked? Okay, he wanted to body block it again. If you hug your Reaper against the Vespian Geyser, you can't actually morph into structure. It's a little bit rough. Anyhow. Yeah, this is what I was trying to bring up in the previous game. Whenever your third base gets to night like this, it's really... Oh. It's really quite annoying. Ragnarok sneaking it away. Oh god, okay. Maru apparently also caught the drone that was trying to morph into third base on the left side instead. So now suddenly Ragnarok is pushed back into double base here instead. In the meantime, by the way, Maru already going into a third command center. Yeah, so now the transition suddenly is pretty natural here for Terran, right? So you've done a good amount of damage here in the early game with those Reapers. You only really invested into a couple of them. And while your second command center is a bit late, your third command center is really quick. So you go for a tech lab, you go for a reactor, and then you start up the Stimpec upgrade. You can go for a factory, go for another reactor, make a starport, do the big switcheroo, and suddenly you've arrived once again at that bio play, that marine mid-game, where you can start it off with a, you know, a 16 marine drop or 14 marine drop or however many marines you've got at that point in the game. Very cool. Now, because of the third command center though, it does mean that this factory is definitely not as quick as it could have been. But I think it will still line up reasonably well, the medevacs that is. Yeah, he might be sitting actually closer to like 20 marines by the time that the medevacs pop. Alright, anyways, eventually, now that Zergling speed is out, Ragnarok managed to take his third hatchery because those lings obviously are annoying. Maru did, by the way, nice little touch there. He brought these Reapers back up towards the Terran's main. Looks like an easy move, but you need to know exactly the second at which you need to leave before, well, Zergling speed finishes up. So you have to recognize the exact build that the Zerg player is playing. Ragnarok trying to get lucky here, trying to scout these units, trying to grab them for free, but sadly for him, they are no longer hiding in this location on the map, and now he sees them in the main base as well, so he knows that it's kind of pointless. Did he at least see the third command center? No, he did not see the third command center. He could probably deduce that from the fact that the starport isn't done yet, but a little bit unfortunate. Baneling Nest coming up right now. So as a Zerg, you probably need about 30 Zerglings against this particular push by the time that these medevacs get towards the other side of the map. So currently he's only got 9. He's adding on some drones, he's adding on some links. He's definitely gonna need a reasonable army. Okay, Maru thinking about... Okay, scouting the main base. He didn't get far enough to see if the lair already had started up, but... There's really nothing hiding in that base anyways. Like, worst case scenario, what's the worst case scenario right now for Terran? Worst case scenario, I guess, would be... maybe like a Nidus play or some silly 2-base. All in, right? Something that you just didn't see. So he doesn't really know about the third hatchery, so that's the assumption he's trying to make here. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at though is that this is a build order that's very solid against everything. If there would be a roach push coming across the map after that early game, it would probably hit right around the same time as Stimpack finishes up, which is excellent for the Terran player. Ooh, okay. Well, there are enough links here to push this back. Decided to just nibble at the queens there for a little bit with the Marines. But yeah, this is not really... I guess the main weakness is that it immediately is obvious that you are gonna go for Bio Terran. Like, whenever you go for 2 barracks, technically speaking, you can transition towards Terran mech, but naturally you kind of progress into this Bio mid-game, so you can be a little bit predictable there. But I mean, look at the timing right here of Baneling speed. Look at the, well, Evo chambers, or the lack thereof. Terran's already at 1-1. About 3/4 of the way done, I would say. Zerg just started up the Evos. There it is. So these Evo chambers are not gonna, well, not gonna finish up their upgrades for a long time. We do need an armory here as a Terran player, so you can go straight into 2-2 as well. Either that or you go for an all-out push. Well, hey, that's kind of cute, right? If you feel like Maru is maybe a little bit too good at playing Terran, take solace in the fact that apparently he's also late on his armory every once in a while. I know I'm grasping at straws. There you go. For little mistakes that the guy's making here, but there it is. The armory does come up. Ah. He can't go into 2-2 until that structure is finished. That happens to everybody, okay? All the way from Bronze League, apparently, to Maru. Anyway. Couldn't help but notice, by the way, that the APM for Ragnarok is ridiculously high. Man, apparently close to hitting 10 buttons a second. Now, you gotta keep in mind that Zerg players in particular like to have very quick repeat rates and very low repeat delays. So, basically what you do as a StarCraft player... This is a little trick, actually. I don't know if everybody's aware of this, but... Basically, you know how in Windows you can adjust the settings of your key presses? So there are keyboard settings. It turns out if you go into the Windows registry, you can actually lower that value even more. So you can adjust the value even more. So generally speaking, this is what every single StarCraft player does. They will change the repeat rates and the repeat delays to be at a number that naturally cannot happen in Windows unless you go into the register. Or the registry. That's probably it. Anyways, I'm no expert. It definitely does make a difference, though. It just makes your computer unusable if you want to type something normally. There's no way Ragnarok can just type something on Discord. 9 SCVs have gone down over at the third base, but Maru is trying to create a choke here on this hatchery. He needs to be very careful, because Baneling speed is done. 1-1 is also finished for the Zerg, and that's exactly, what Zerg is trying to make use of right now. Reinforcements, though, from the Terran showed up perfectly in time to intercept the units that are coming in from the right. Maru spread very, very thin, but he does get the kill on that hatchery here. Would have loved to see this base here in the top right, yeah, going down during all of this. Zergling run by once again. Okay, I'm liking this more and more for Ragnarok. Yes, he did just lose a hatchery. Yes, he's gonna be a little oversaturated, but really not all too much. And he's done a good amount of damage here in this game so far. 11 workers, nothing all too terrible. He's going Hydroling Bane, investing into 2-2 upgrades too. Now, these upgrades are expensive. There's gonna be about a minute or so where Terran's gonna be at 2-2 because the upgrade is finished, and Ragnarok won't just yet. Now this hatchery over here is gonna get denied as well, and that makes the game a whole lot more difficult. You need a 4th hatch. Yeah. In order to contest Terran economy, you really do need to make sure you're a base up. Maru knows that his 2-2 is gonna finish up before the Zergs. So I wouldn't mind it if he decided to chill for a moment, but I guess he's just looking for the best fight that he can. A little bit of a bailing roll-by over here. Ragnarok looking to strike back, and this is a good amount of damage. 19 SCVs go down. Now what he needs to do is clean up this push. A lot more Terran reinforcements, though, going across the map. This time around, the 4th CC not quite as quick. Those Marines very overstimmed. Reinforcing units actually here on the left side of the map as well, trying to see if they can potentially, okay, get a snipe on that 4th hatch. Instead, right now, though, they're gonna go towards the Zerg's natural just to try and create as much of a distraction as possible. I think those units are basically dead, but the same may be said right here for this hatchery over on the right side, and this is the 3rd base. Terran, in the meantime, has finished up the 4th command center, and Zerg is losing their 3rd base, but more importantly, maybe, the upgrades as well. Oh, no. 2-2 just got the knight right here for Ragnarok. Maru's been rebuilding his economy too, so even though he did lose more SCVs than he needed, he has rebuilt them pretty quickly. 4th command center is gonna land right here at the 6 o'clock position. I'm imagining this is gonna be a planetary fortress over here. Okay, siege tank here, plug in the hole that's in the natural. Terran units have fallen back, at least a lot of them. There's the planetary fortress coming up. Maru realizing that the bases are likely now going to be taken on the left side, so he cycled his entire army from the top right towards the center once again. This time around, though, it's a more siege tank heavy army than what we saw earlier. Love this position over here. Terran's going to try and, oh my god, well, Zerg is going to try and collapse on top of this. Is there enough, though? I don't think there is. No, there is not enough, at least, to clean up all of those tanks here in the back, and now it's only Hydras and Zerglings left over. Bailings start to morph in right now, but that does mean that this base is going to be in a lot of trouble. And the Hydras maybe even more so as well. Queens are going down. Siege tanks rolling deeper onto the creep. Bailings are going to finish up right now, but the tanks are sieged up in a very dangerous spot. If they can target fire down those Banelings, well, I think that's going to be basically it. Well, the drones, okay, they are pulled away from their mineral lines. And you know what? The reinforcing links together with the drones do clean up all of the tanks. Maybe an overextension right there from Maru. Maru is still, though, outmining the opponent, so he doesn't really need very cost-efficient trades at all. And now the reinforcements have arrived. Those drones are very low HP from engaging against those tanks earlier. And there it is. Maru obtains a relatively easy 3-0 win over Ragnarok in the StarCraft 2 World Championships semi-finals.